So these are my notes on the topic mega churches, possible mega troubles. Now, I do understand that mega churches bring mega possibilities, and that's why people attend them. But the flip side that many are not aware of is that oftentimes there are mega troubles occurring while they're attending. So let's begin with a survey in the year 2020. It showed that the average church in the U.S. had about 65 members, with about 1/3 of those 65 aged 65 or above. So 65 seems to be the number that will help you remember that. Now, it also showed that mega churches, that is, churches with a membership of about 2,000 and above, were growing rapidly. So, we have to use a little bit of factual information and then make some inferences and draw some conclusions. So it is possible that many of the smaller average church size attenders are leaving and going to the mega churches. Also, each year 4,000 churches close. So we're kind of in a survival of the fittest, sort of a Darwinian type thing, that if the church is small and can't make ends meet, it closes. And the members from those closing churches oftentimes will go to a mega church. So the little church is being swallowed in the mega church. Now, I do have a story to relate to this from my experience. Now, I was serving a small church. The church structure itself was completed just at the end of the 1800s and into the first part of the 1900s. So the structure itself was quite old. It was in the city, and the city had experienced a lot of people leaving the city, and thus the attendance at the church was sparse. So maybe on a Sunday morning, 30 were in attendance. Now, the building is outdated, the membership is aged, and it's very difficult to retain young people with families. We had one such young family, and they seemed to be okay until a semi-mega church developed about 15 miles from the church where I was serving. Now, I use the term semi-mega, meaning they weren't really at the membership of 2,000, but they definitely were bigger than the church I was serving. Their facilities were modern, the music was contemporary, and there was a program for every age. We, meaning the church that I was serving, lost this family to this new building, new style, programs for everyone church. And I was okay, because I know that you have to let go of families and people and let them do what they want to do and so forth. But I decided to conduct what I call an exit interview, meaning talk a little bit about your time here with us and talk just a little bit about why you're leaving. And they were okay with that. So I went to their home, sat down with them. And we went over several things, but the big question was, tell me, do you have any hesitation going to this new church? And the wife spoke up and said, yes, there is one. What is that? Well, the youth of the new church that had everything, all the programs, had the rock band, raised an incredible amount of money to build a youth center. And the pastor of the church told everyone that the Lord told him that the money that was raised for that youth building was to go to a missionary. The pastor went to the bank and withdrew the funds, and all the money that was done through fundraising by the youth, by car washes and bake sales, etc., was gone overnight. Overnight. No one was allowed to question. There was no accountability anywhere. It was over and it was done. Now that shocked me. And the reason it shocked me is, in my 42 years of serving a church, I never even had the power to go to the bank in behalf of the church and even withdraw $1 US. But this pastor had all power, and this pastor was not to be questioned. Now, it wasn't a mega church as we're talking about, but it was getting close to being a mega church. So, look out. Look out. And yes, it does and is happening. Okay, so what has happened is these newer churches, so-called churches by the way, are taking on strange names, such as Elevation Church, Liquid Church, Adventure Church, New Horizons Church, Life Point Church, Canvas Church. Now they call it rebranding. In other words, brand names are no longer fashionable. So people are looking for anything but, quote, a Baptist church. Anything but a Methodist church. Anything but a Presbyterian church. Anything but a holiness church. Anything but an AME church, African Methodist Episcopal Church. Anything. So they come up with what they call cool names. And those names really don't convey anything at all about the Christian faith. Elevation Church? Where is Christianity in that name? Liquid Church? Adventure Church? Life Point? Canvas? So the rebranding is basically saying, we don't really want to completely identify with Christianity. Now I know you might think I sound harsh, but listen, look at the name. All right, so let's move on in my notes. Now mega churches take mega falls. Maybe that should be the name of a new mega church, the Mega Falls Church. Akron Baptist Temple, Akron, Ohio, was supposed to be one of the first mega churches in the United States. It later changed its name to Connect Temple. There you are, see? It was demolished in the year of this video, 2024, and it was built for thousands and thousands and thousands. Large church gone. So let's go to Florida. Let's go to Carpenter's home church, Lakeland, Florida. Sanctuary built for 10,000, attendance was 7,000. Now there was a big scandal there, big. They were selling false securities. worth over $2.3 million. I'm not sure how that worked, but it might have been along the line of like selling stocks, even though they weren't bonded or officially in a brokerage or anything. I'm not sure. You can look it up. Church built for $10,000, now demolished. And I want to say something that if you want to go online at YouTube channels, there's lots of them where the young people will get their cameras and they will go inside these abandoned places. I didn't want to show any of that because I don't think they should be doing stuff like that. It seems to be trespassing on property that is not theirs. And in addition to that, anyone could easily get hurt doing these things because they're not aware of the dangers in those buildings. And so I was thinking about showing some clips, but I'm not going to. But you can find them if you want. Just type in mega churches that are abandoned on YouTube and you can watch them go through some of these places. Now that was demolished in 2015, the Carpenter's Church. So, there are many large and small churches now abandoned. The small churches are abandoned too, but both mega churches and small churches are failing and falling. So the little churches take little falls, and the big churches take big falls. Now what are the dangers? And these dangers in both size churches, by the way, but they're more apparent and more likely in the big churches. False doctrine, theft of offerings, scams such as false securities, worldliness, and the name suggests worldliness, by the way, because they want to be a seeker sensitive. In other words, they don't want to really preach conviction of sin. Therefore, you really don't need a Savior. But you do need to come and have fun, and you do need to come and, quote, improve yourself so you can be a better businesswoman or businessman. So there's dangers in all churches, but especially the mega churches. Okay, one more page of notes. So our culture is obsessed with numbers. Most people today believe that if there's a large number of people, it means it's really good and you should go. I didn't put any scriptures there. I forgot to do so in my notes, but you can go to where Jesus talks about the road to hell is wide with many, and the other road is narrow with few. So think about this. The successful mega churches will be the abandoned, demolished churches of tomorrow. In other words, those youth with those cameras will be going into some of these ones that are right now in your neighborhood. Right now. Where the cars, you can't get a place to park. Why? Because people are fickle. They want to go to the next new thing. So whatever's at that church won't sustain them anymore or fulfill them. And the pressures to maintain these large structures and this large staff is very, very great. In other words, a mega church needs mega bucks. So the new car that you have from the car lot today can be the car in the junkyard tomorrow. Now the early church from 60 AD to about 312 AD, somewhere in that range, maybe let's go more along the line of like 34 AD, 312 AD, did not have any buildings. They tried to go into the synagogues, but it didn't work. And due to the Roman persecution, buildings were not built. Buildings didn't start to get built until after Constantine, around 312. So house churches could provide an answer, and that is the thing that's happening in places like China. In other words, there's no need for a structure anymore. By the way, this is where a lot of things are headed, even like workplaces. People are working at home. The large buildings to accommodate large number of workers. Eventually schools might get to this too. Everybody stays home and does education online by teachers. I'm very suspicious that will happen with schools someday. So this video is not trying to condemn all mega churches. It might sound like it, but not necessarily. But yet, I want it to be a warning because of the history of these mega churches. Nobody talks about the ones that are demolished. Nobody talks about them. They just want to drive the car and pull into the building that's going to give them the most for their money. By the way, it's basically consumerism. Where can I get the best deal? So, the bigger the churches, the greater the possibility for error in doctrine, financial scam, and theft, and abuse of children, any type of abuse, and also the greater potential for this to end up really basically being some type of a cult. Because what has happened is accountability is no longer there. And the makers and shakers of these new churches don't want to be accountable basically to anyone for anything at any time. Now, I served in a church where I was accountable for 42 years. I wasn't even capable of going to a bank and withdrawing funds. Just be careful. Remember, mega churches might have mega possibilities, but they could also have mega troubles. I'd like to thank you for watching this video. End of video.